getting rid of the kryptonite is our first concentric level. You can affect the people up to 3 feet away from you with just making those things. The next one are these people here. And we're going to talk about how being understandable is going to make you that better for this group of people. So who are these silly stick figures that we have here? These are judges or your mom. They are anyone who is obligated to come and visit your poster because either they love you or because they have to judge you. These are the people that you are going to, no matter how bad your poster is, you're going to be talking and having a conversation with. So the problem is they want to love you, they want to enjoy you, but they can't do that if they can't figure out what you're talking about. So for this one, you have to be really, really audience-centric to better understand what level of knowledge they come in here with and what you need to say to them. So we're going to use our little superpower to be able to make this understandable and make it effective for this group of people. So here's 3 ways we're going to do that. First, we're going to ditch the jargon. Second, we're going to reduce the content. And third, we're going to organize everything else that's left on your poster. Number 1, ditching the jargon. So this is a really, really deep poster for a non-math person. I am not a math person, but I think I've spent more time with this poster in my preparation for this presentation than any of the others. And I think, I'm not certain, but I think that there's some really, really good stuff in here. Where is Jared? Is Jared here? Did Jared not show up, or is he too nervous to raise his hand? Okay, it's a good poster, but what I noticed is there was, for a highly technical conference where everyone did exactly what Jared did, it would probably be an adequate poster. For something like Student Research Symposium, where your judges are determined by college, not by department, not by subdiscipline, it was probably a little bit too much. This is the text that I pulled from that paragraph that you're on there. You don't have to read all the way through it. But I'll highlight a couple things that I noticed as I was going through it. This right here is really interesting, but it's hidden a little bit. This is why networks, which he's talking about, are so important, and the different areas that they apply to, different areas of research. Down here, this last sentence, I think it's really, really important, but it uses a lot of big words. Quantitative values have a subtle interpretation insofar as they are implicit assumptions of the underlying process being carried out on the network. I spent some time on this, and trying to work my way backwards to figure out what it was. You want to do this work for your reader. Your reader is not going to have time to go through, parse the language, and try and figure out what it is you're trying to say because they're not quite as smart as you. You want to do the work for them. So this is the type of level work that you want to do for the text that you have on your poster. And without reducing the words at all, which we'll talk about a little bit later, there are a couple things that I pulled out. By making this a bulleted list, which I don't love, but helps anyway. And you can see that there's a list and that there's 4 different areas that networks apply to: biology, neuroscience, sociology, and quantum computing. And then the last sentence, I tried to just use 9th grade language to be able to explain. So instead of implicit assumptions, I think I still used implicit. But these values can be interpreted in many ways. I think that's what he was saying. I wish you were here so I could see if I were right or not. But these things can be interpreted in many ways. And all of a sudden, that's a little bit more available. And so your judge who's trying to visit a bajillion different posters is going to get your content that much faster so they can evaluate it on the merits of its research. 2, reduce the content. So that's the second thing. This is a very, very simple math issue. So the average, according to everything that we know, the average poster visit is going to be 2 to 3 minutes. That's what, if you are successful, you can expect a person to come and talk to you for 3 minutes, maybe 5 if you're lucky. The average reading speed of a person is 250 words per minute. However, that is 250 minutes in a book or on a printed manuscript, not on a poster like this. So we're going to cut that down and we'll be generous and we'll say the average reading speed will be 200 words per minute on a poster. So you do the mathematics on that, the multiplication, and that means we've got 600 words max on a poster. However, a poster encounter is not designed to be someone standing at your poster and just reading. It's supposed to be a back and forth interaction. So I'm going to cut that down even a little bit more. And we'll say maybe 400 words. And that's probably, that's parsing it probably down more than most of you are comfortable with, but I think an optimal poster has about 400 to 600 words on it. Here is John Pugmire's poster that he has, which is also really interesting. Some very interesting research on here. Is Jonathan here? Good poster. There's a lots of stuff on here, and it's easy to cut out as long as you have the emotional ability to part with all of your hard work. But how many words do you think are on this poster? Any guesses? Huh? 1,000? Any other guesses? 800? Okay. Who said 1,000? 1,019 words that are on here. So if you can just take out 60% of the words on this, it's going to be even better. But that's a hard thing. How do you decide what gets cut? And some people, they love all of their stuff so much, they will try to parse out a the here and an there and a couple little adjectives here. And that really doesn't make better writing. I mean, you can do that, but generally, when you're at 1,000 words, you're going to want to cut a section. What I've read most is that it makes sense to cut your methods down a lot and any research that is not your own, that's explanatory, that you don't need. And I didn't spend a huge amount of time on this, but I thought your kilograms might be a section that might be able to go. Also, I could be wrong, but I think the IR imaging section is really a listing of your methods. And so that's something you could probably parse down a lot. And if someone wants to know about IR imaging, they can go look that up. But really, the focus of your poster seems to be over here on the right side, where you're talking about your experiences and what your results are. So 3, organize what's left. And here's where we're going to get into a couple really easy, really simple graphic design principles. Okay, we Westerners, we read from left to right. So anytime that we look at a sheet of paper or a poster or a PowerPoint slide, our typical eye line is going to go from the top left to the bottom right. And that's just, unless there's something that completely arrests that process, that's our natural way that we do things. When things are arranged in certain ways, we can be impressed to do slightly different things. If you have your information in columns, then we can sense to go top to bottom, over, top to bottom, over, top to bottom. If it's arranged in rows, like on a PowerPoint slide or in a book, we go row, left to right, row, left to right, row, left to right. We are people of order. However, not quite, because when you have a poster that's arranged like this and these wonderful, perfectly wonderful aligned boxes, we're not happy. Why are we not happy? I hear a lot of mumbling, but
where do I look?
Where do I look? Where do I start?
Which direction?
Which direction do I go? Are these rows? Are they columns? How does that make sense? Even if you have 3 long columns here, we don't like it that much because when we look at a poster, we want it to look like a unified whole. We do not want it to look like SIAM's recommendation of letter sheets posted on a poster board. We want it to feel like a single creation. And things that our minds do to make it feel like it's all separate is if we feel like we can cut it all the way across the sheet in a single line, those are the things that make us feel a sense of separation. So when you vary your content a little bit, maybe like this, or maybe like this, that's much more pleasing to the viewer. It's much more pleasing to you, and you just don't know it. But that's what you're going to respond to, and that's what your viewers are going to respond to. But even though we love order, we love variation, we don't like too much variation. For instance, when it fits together like a puzzle piece, even if you have straight lines and even if it all fits within the grid section, that doesn't make us happy because it gets confusing about when you get here, where does your eye go next? There's not a clear flow of travel that follows that line from top to bottom, left to right. Even worse, is when they don't fit together like puzzle pieces. And you have these areas of white space that don't make sense at all. That, in looking at the poster over there, that big white empty box, that's not pleasing to your eye. And you don't know why, but it just bugs you and you want it to go away. So we don't like that at all, at all. Here's one. We're going back to John's again. I'm not picking on you, John. This is a great, great poster. But you've got, most of these are boxes. But going back down to our kilograms again, I'm not sure how to read it because I'm not sure in what order it goes. I'm not sure if I read it here or if I read it here across and then come back up here and move that way. So when we have non-modular layouts, boxes that are not squares, that have inverted corners, that can be really confusing for a viewer to figure out how to make sense of and how to read it quickly. Okay, third, organize what's left. Oh, nope, that was organize what's left. We're done with this one.